Bring it on. Want some, get some. Can I get a hell yeah? Yes, I am a pirate. You have to go with the pirates because, of course, they have cannons and everything. It's a pirate's life for me. Be proud of who you are and what you are. You're a pirate.
It is a first down. Pirates.
Because when you're at East Carolina, you go for it every time. When you don't coach at East Carolina, you don't come to East Carolina, you don't play at East Carolina with a weak heart. Write it.
I think I've ever been in a building as loud as that was. It was deafening in there.
You live with Omaha? I can promise you that. And a purple all night long in Eastern North Carolina.
You're watching The Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates.
My heart is purple and gold. I'm a pirate down of my soul, and I don't back down, not at all. Find out when the cannons explode.
All right, welcome into the TSO Pirate Football Preview, and we have Temple this week. Man, we have a fantastic show, except for me, obviously, but everybody else on the panel is great. I'm going to start off with my buddy from many years, Kyle from LaGrange Barber. What's up?
What's going on, guys? Here on Wednesday night, a few days before game day at Temple. This is the biggest East Carolina Temple game in a long time. There's been many seasons where Temple has been good and East Carolina's been bad. There's been many seasons where East Carolina's been bad and, East Carolina's been good and Temple's been bad, but there's not been very many where both have been good. Theoretically, both teams can still play for the conference championship with only one loss in the league each, and both having good seasons. So it's a big game this week in Philadelphia, and it should be on TV, by the way, instead of just ESPN Plus. But anyway,
that's good. Yeah. Oh, you say should or will?
Should.
Oh yeah, no question about it. Let's bring in our insider of the stats. We call him Johnny Stats. Johnny Robertson, what's up, brother?
Hey, how y'all doing? Ryan's always one of my favorite opponent preview guys. He's always got some good stuff. Looking forward to that. And, of course, Andrew, it's always fun doing the show with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Glad to have you. I know Andrew's got a tight schedule, and I know Ryan may too as well. We'll go ahead and get into it. Guys, I just want to say I've been looking forward to this show. It's great when you can have a winning season, or actually two winning teams, two teams doing well, where you're like, this is going to be, I'm not just saying this is going to be a really good football game. I really feel like it's going to be close either way. We'll get our predictions later on in the show. That's a nice little tease, but we want to bring two guys that know a lot about East Carolina and Temple. And I don't know who wants to start. Andrew, do you want to start first? I know you have about 15 minutes with us. So do you want to start first? And we can have Ryan also chime in. But how are you feeling about your Pirates, Andrew?
I'm feeling good. I mean, the biggest concern that the Pirates are going to face are themselves coming off, 16 days having time off here between games, the way it all shapes out. And, sometimes that can be an issue, as far as having some rust, developing some rust with that time off. How do you use the time? Are you able to, like they did in the prior week, are you able to self-assess, get in, do some advanced self-scouting, see what you're doing well, see what you can improve upon, at this point in the season. But I'll tell you, taking a look at some of this Temple film, with all the things offensively that the Pirates have been doing right, I keep on diving into Temple, trying to find some things that typical Temple teams would show up on film. But this offense is, this Temple offense is almost complete. They've got a stellar tight end in Pete Clark, who is obviously a threat. But it all starts with Evan Simon, the quarterback. He's 63% on the season without throwing an interception. He's got 21 touchdowns. Offensively, they've already only turned the ball over once so far this season. So, their stats, as you dive into it and look at their national ranks offensively, they don't necessarily stand out where they jump off the page. But I'll tell you, they've got, a former 5-star receiver in Kajaya Holloway that, he put 10 catches against Tulsa last week. Jay Ducker, their senior running back, he's a threat. And just like the Pirates, they have a deep running back room. So they offensively they have some threats. Now they do not distribute the ball as well as the Pirates do offensively with the wide receivers and tight ends that the Pirates have. You know, they're more concentrated on the nucleus of their skill players, but you know, this is going to be a shootout. There's no question about it.
Right. And Ryan, I saw you guys doing prep for the show that we've had plenty of time. Hope that this show has got to be good because we've had many days to prepare for it. But you guys are scoring. I was happy for you guys to see that the number of points, like if you're going on points, you know, maybe it's crazy, but the line was 4.5 and you guys are scoring about 4.5 points more than us. I thought that was kind of interesting. You guys are like 34.5. I think we're just over 30 a game, which that's, as Coach Logan would say, Andrew, that's healthy for offense. So I was happy to see that, especially, in other words, I feel like this is going to be a tight game. It's going to be an exciting game. And as Kyle said, for both teams should be on television, on national television, and not just ESPN Plus.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I think the big thing that you're alluding to and we're kind of seeing is that this is a lot of people are expecting this to be a high scoring game. And it's really going to come down to who makes that first mistake on offense, or, you know, which defense gets this key stop, or which defense forces that all important turnover that's going to turn the tide of the game and really shift it for their team's favor. But, you know, I've been wrong before. You know, these are the types of games where, you know, you sometimes expect it to be an offensive shootout and it ends up being a defensive slugfest. And so, you know, I would not be quite surprised if maybe that ends up happening. But, you know, I would like to see, you know, just like you said, a good football game between two teams that on paper really look like they're very evenly matched. They're in very similar situations. Kyle mentioned earlier, you know, that both teams obviously are still alive in the conference title hunt. And obviously, Temple's playing for something it hasn't played for in 6 years in bowl eligibility come this week, and they have 4 shots to get that all-important 6th win, and it starts on Saturday against ECU.
Yeah, you mentioned Temple playing for win number 6. Which, you know, just thinking about last year, the job, you know, your head coach has done coming over for Sam Houston. Before that, he was at Delaware. He's a winner. Delaware, Sam Houston, and now Temple. Is incredible how far you guys have come in a year. And part of that's, you know, due to the portal, but a lot of that's coaching. I think excellent, very well coached football team. Wanted to kind of go back to a point that Andrew made earlier, Andrew Bass from the Pirate Sports Network. How about having 16 days off, Ryan? And you guys have played 5 in a row without an off week. There's advantages and disadvantages to both. I mean, at some point in the season, you play that many games in a row, you're going to get tired. We should be well rested. I don't like that we've only played 2 games in the week in the month of October. We had a couple off weeks in October and 3 straight Thursday nights. 16 days off is a lot of time to have off. So it's a chance to heal. But as Ryan says, also as Andrew says, also a chance to get rusty. Do you see an advantage, disadvantage there? It's hard to tell. It's hard to predict. But, you know, given the two, would you rather have 16 days off or have played 5 in a row coming into this game?
I think if I'm Temple right now, I think I'd rather be playing this game right now. I know our defense is a little banged up right now heading into this week, and we still got another game next week against a very tough Army team as well that's going to end up, you know, making it 6 games in a row, and, you know, injuries are going to start to pile up. But I think coming off of the way Temple won last week at Tulsa on the road and coming back home now, I think that is probably going to have the guys a little bit more juiced up and hopefully ready to come out and play against an ECU team that, like Andrew said, you know, could be a little rusty. You guys haven't played a lot of football in the month of October. So there's obviously that chance that, you know, ECU starts slow, which we've seen a couple times before throughout the season where the Pirates have started a little slower in games, but they've had to fight their way back in and win the game late. But, you know, it's all going to depend on really how come game day, how healthy Temple is. You know, Coach Keeler mentioned at his press conference on Monday, he was sort of working with a MASH unit out there on defense. I think like 5 or 6 defensive starters were in black jerseys going non-contact, but they were going through the full speed of everything. I think they were just trying to keep those guys a little healthy and make sure that they could get to game day without having guys miss some time for the Owls.
You know, one of the things that comes to mind, Ryan, is with your quarterback, Simon, if here's one of the keys of the game for me. If he's very efficient, I don't mean that as a bad way. I think that's, like he's not turnover prone. So if you let him sit back in the pocket and pass, it may be a long day for the Pirates. We'll see. And the Pirates are very good at TFLs. We're one of the best in the country. So if you don't get, I know that sounds Captain Obvious, but if you don't get pressure on this quarterback with Simon, then I'm not saying we will lose the game because of it, but that might be a big factor.
Yeah, I totally agree because, I think the teams that have gotten pressure to Simon throughout the season, the Oklahomas, the Navies, they are the teams that have Temple has lost to at the end of the day. And that was the big thing, especially against Oklahoma, where Temple's offense was shut down. Obviously, Oklahoma's defense is far and above better than any defense Temple has seen since and probably will see the rest of the season, just with the amount of NFL talent that they have on that defense. But, that was where Evan Simon kind of struggled, was he was just not getting time to throw the ball. Navy did a good job, especially in the second half, of getting to Simon a little bit, forcing him to get the ball out quicker than what he would have liked to. And that really allowed for Navy to come back in that game and end up picking up the win at the end of the game.
Let's talk about Andrew. Let's talk, Ryan, you may not know, but Andrew is an ECU Hall of Famer. Was an amazing punter at ECU back in the 90s. One of the best decades ever. I love the 90s. But anyway, just telling my son that as the show was starting. Andrew, I know with the limited time you have left, we'll talk about special teams and maybe some intangibles, some keys to the game.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Mazzy is going to be picking up. He picked up some hardware from the conference this past week. With 2 field goals against Tulsa, he's now 8-10 on the season. And of course, I think Ryan Levy bounced back really well this last week. In his punting efforts. So I mean, special teams wise, I think, as the things have progressed through the season, we've seen some ups and some downs, especially from the punting game. I think some of that leveled off this past week. But I do have a question for Ryan. Ryan, when digging in on Temple a little bit, the one person that stands out as far as obviously Casey Keeler's got a great track record, long time at Delaware, and a lot of success at Delaware. Then obviously Sam Houston State, but Tyler Walker stands out to me as a first-year offensive coordinator with you guys, and prior to that, he was at Montana State for a year as an offensive coordinator. And you look at his bio, he looks like he has jumped the ranks quite a bit in a short bit of time, and it seems like his offenses are paying off. Obviously, we've got a young offensive coordinator as well, John David Baker, but to me, that's an interesting story, what Tyler Walker has been able to do in a short amount of time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you really look at not only the offenses that he helped run last year at Montana State and leading them to the national championship game appearance, and nearly, winning the national title last year as a first-year offensive coordinator in his coaching career. But then for him to jump to the FBS level and already see the fruits of his labor coming out in this Temple offense, especially with the work he's been putting in with Evan Simon and the work Simon has put in himself, just how efficient the offense has been in a obviously the strongest G5 league. I think that really speaks well to his playbook and how deep his playbook goes, and just that, there's not a lot of defensive coordinators out there that are very experienced who have figured him out yet and his offense and really been able to put a stop to it. So I think that really just shows how well and how quickly he's rising up the coaching ranks. And hopefully, Temple's going to be able to find some maybe extra cash at the end of the season to throw at him and maybe keep him around a little longer, because there's no question that he's been a huge part of the success so far for the Owls this year.
You're Ryan, you and Andrew both. You guys were talking about the offensive coordinator. Just overall, I look at this Temple football team, and I think they're incredibly well coached. I think these guys take the coaching really well too. You got a really smart quarterback. Kind of my observation on things, and I don't mean this is a put down to East Carolina's coaching staff, and I don't mean this is a put down to Temple's talent. I think East Carolina's the more talented football team, and you guys have some pieces where you're extremely talented, but I think overall we're way more talented. I think you guys are way better coached. What I've seen, particularly on the offensive side of the ball, you guys are one of the best coached teams in the country. Incredibly coached. Would you agree with that assessment? We have more talent. You guys are better coached.
Yeah, I don't think that's an insult, because I think large in part that a lot of the guys that Temple has on this roster in the offense that we've mentioned so far, they are guys that were on this Temple football team last year, and they were guys who played a decent amount. Sans Jay Ducker, the large core of this Temple offense was on the roster last year, and they were playing at times. And that just, I think, also goes to a testament to just show how much they've been coached up and how much they've developed in less than a calendar year from, when the staff took over back in December.
Yeah, I watched you guys, and particularly your quarterback, and he just doesn't make any mistakes. Really accurate. Efficient is a good word for him. Excellent. I was talking to somebody about this the other day. I said, in terms of talent and pro potential, I think Hauser is a better quarterback. But in terms of a college quarterback, intelligence, running the system, playing to his strengths, running the system that he's in, and your quarterback is a better system quarterback. I think it's a really interesting matchup. This game really intrigues me, and if I wasn't an East Carolina fan and just a neutral party, this would be a game I would watch. I think it's going to be an incredibly close game, and that's something that scares me a little. I'd said going into the Tulsa game, your guys' Tulsa game, that neither team had won a close game. That East Carolina had either blown people out or won convincingly, and you guys had either blown people out or won convincingly. Although I can't remember the exact score of UTSA, it might have been closer than I'm thinking. But I said somebody's going to have to win a close game in this East Carolina Temple game finally, and then you guys have to go beat Tulsa in overtime, which some people may look and say, "Hey, well, we won that game handedly." And Temple struggled with them, but I think it's good. I think it's good to find a way to win a game close and win a game in overtime. You guys agree with that? That's something that East Carolina, Andrew, JR, everybody, you guys agree with that? That's something that East Carolina has not done yet. We've blown people out or either lost, and seeing Temple do that this past week after I really don't think you guys had done it. It's a bit. I think it's a positive for y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just going to add that in this series, well, at least the American games, the last 10 games have all been American Conference games. The average margin of victory is over 21 points a game. And the Pirates, their average margin of victory is like 25 a game. And the only close game we've had, Kyle, was that shootout with Holton Ahlers and Warner, EJ Warner, what was that, 49-46 or something like that?
Yeah, in 02.
Yeah. Every other
22,
game.
22. Yeah.
Yeah, that was in 2022. Every other game has been, not really very competitive. Also, whoever leads at halftime has won 9 out of the 10 games and the last 8 in a row. So I guess, getting on the board early and trying to get the momentum is key in this game.
Ryan, you see why we gave Johnny the big raise recently. He got a big bonus, and we signed him to a multi-year deal. We can't talk about it, lawyers, but anyway, Ryan, we have a question for you from Kenny, one of our regulars. Ryan, what is your thoughts on Temple injuries and maybe having tired legs? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no, I think definitely, possibly injuries are going to play a factor. Like I mentioned earlier, couple of the defensive starters right now are working their way back from injury. A couple of them got a little shaken up in that game against Tulsa. Avery Powell's the name that comes to mind, who got hurt late in that game. Jalen Castleberry, who's one of our starting cornerbacks. He missed practice on Monday and wasn't out there running around with the one. So that would obviously be a big loss for Temple, given that he's a starting cornerback in the passing attack that ECU presents. So that could be an issue. A couple of the linebackers were also a little banged up, and one of Temple's best defensive linemen, Sekou Chroma, who's a single-digit guy, also he's missed the last 2 games with just a lingering shoulder injury. Temple's hoping to get him back this week, but he might just not be there yet, is what we're hearing. But hopefully he's going to be able to at least give the Owls some snaps on that defensive line.
Before Andrew's got to go here in a few minutes, or maybe a minute or so. So if anybody has a final question for Andrew, and Andrew, I appreciate you carving out some time for us tonight. And I know you're getting ready for the Speaking of the Temple game, you got to do some research, so we're going to let you get out of here. Guys, you have another question for Andrew?
Andrew, you can't give a score for the game because you're calling it, right? So how do you feel about things?
Yeah, I mean, just like I said, looking at this offense, this Temple offense, looking at their defense, one thing, I think Ryan touched on it on the secondary. There's a lot of pass breakups in this secondary. You look at their defensive stats, you try to figure out where the holes are, and their pass defense is 31st in the country. They're stingy with 189 yards per game. So it's going to be interesting to me to see. I go back to the Tulsa game. Brock Spalding and Yannick Smith, who we know are explosive offensive players, each had a catch in that Tulsa game. We'd like to see a bit more productivity from those guys, especially Brock. I know Brock had a play or two that were called back with penalties, but I know this coaching staff wants to get him the ball in space specifically to allow him to get some yards after the catch. That's where they think his biggest threat is. So it's going to be interesting as this game goes on. I think it's going to be another one of those games where the ball is spread out quite a bit, and it's going to have to be. Anthony Smith, we've seen him have some big opportunities as the season's worn on, where him and Caton just haven't connected. I'd like to see a bit more activity from Yannick Smith as well as Brock, especially coming out of that Tulsa game. But, Caton's been great this season. Looking at Caton's stats and looking at Evan Simon's stats, they're both throwing over 60% for the season. Caton's got about 300 or 400 more yards in one less game than Evan Simon. But they're both very similar players. They can take off when they need to stretch the play with their legs and produce touchdowns that way. I'm interested to see whether the Pirates can wrinkle in some Mike Wright as well offensively. We kind of saw a little bit of that in Tulsa. He's too much of a playmaker to not be involved somehow, and I know this coaching staff's had a hard time finding a way to get him involved, but I know they definitely want to. But defensively for the Pirates, we're going to need them to buzz in the backfield. I think, David, you talked about their tackles for losses. They're third in the country, averaging over 8 a game. That's Coach Aldridge's trademark is being productive in the backfield and forcing Temple into some long down and distance plays to kind of equal the playing field, to create some turnover opportunities. Maybe this is the game that Evan Simon starts turning the ball over. That would be outstanding. So, it's going to be a good one. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a weird environment, a big stadium. I know they filled up that lower bowl for that Navy game. It seemed like, I don't know that East Carolina is going to pack it in the way that Navy did, but that's always a challenge on the road too, and big empty stadiums. But it's not something that this team hasn't faced before or experienced before. In decades past and in seasons past, where ECU's used to playing in big, huge stadiums, filled stadiums. That's not the case so much anymore in this conference. The stadiums are smaller. A lot of times, Thursday nights, the stadiums are half empty. So, ECU is going to have that experience to be able to go in there and I think produce and not let that be a detriment. So I'm looking forward to it, fellas.
All right, Andrew.
Enjoy your prep time, Andrew. Have a safe trip. I'll see you up there on Saturday.
All right, boys. Go Pirates.
All right, man. See you later.
See ya.
Ryan, to Andrew's point, at times when Temple is winning, the city of Philadelphia will get behind Temple, and you guys will. It's hard to fill up that stadium, but you guys will. You've had times drawing 30,000, 40,000 people. You guys have started to win. There was a good crowd for Navy. Of course, some of that was Navy people. What kind of crowd are you guys expecting on Saturday?
Yeah, I'm hoping, the Temple fans are going to turn out, and I think it's largely going to be not so much the alumni that's the issue. It's going to be whether the students turn out for this game. that usually largely ends up depending the atmosphere and setting the atmosphere and the mood for that stadium, because the way they have it set up, the Temple students fill the whole side of the one end zone, from basically the edge of Temple's bench over behind the south end zone. So, if the fans aren't there, it ends up making the stadium look a lot more empty than what it should. But, I think what is going to hopefully happen is, because now the team's coming off 2 road victories, hopefully the students are going to come out, especially now that they know that Temple is playing for bowl eligibility. It's a chance at a winning season, and it's a chance to stay alive in this conference title hunt. And, you mentioned that the fans turned out for that Navy game. Granted, it was homecoming. Navy was having a big celebration of its 250th birthday in Philadelphia throughout the week. So, they brought a decent number of people up as well. But, I'm hoping that the alumni actually are going to come out now. The students are going to get hyped up. They're promoting stuff around campus that this is going to be, a big game, and it should have that big game feel to it. Like you said, this should not be an ESPN Plus game. This should be an ESPN2, ESPNU game for this time slot, just because, it is 2 upper echelon teams of the American Conference now this week, and, teams that theoretically have higher aspirations than what's being billed for this game.
Ryan, I was thinking
I'm sorry.
I was just going to say something quick, Johnny, and then it'll be all yours. I promise, buddy. My thing was a 2:00 game. Obviously, I know it's ESPN Plus, but Ryan, I was thinking, just like you guys, you and Kyle and Johnny, I was thinking it will be a 3:30 game on ESPN2 or U. And, I think with the American, you look with the American, the best group of 6, I hate that term, as I always say when you're on. But you look at the ECU and Temple are 2 good football teams, and they have a rivalry, so to speak, as far as we're playing each other on a regular basis. Before the American, there's history there. There's just a lot of good things about having both teams on ESPN. So, and you guys being in the Philly market, I mean, there's going to be a lot of that's what the American talks about, the eyeball, test. And with Temple and East Carolina, I really believe would get good numbers. I know I'm biased, but I really believe that.
Okay. What I was going to say is this is only the second game this whole season that features 2 teams that had 3 players on the Doak Walker Awards watch list preseason. Notre Dame and USC, that was the other game. And now this one. But really, Jay Drucker is the only one that's probably still has somebody's eye looking at him. And the Temple rushing game has been spectacular. We've run the ball 1 more time than the Owls, but Temple has 251 more yards, of rushing offense than we do. So I think that sets up their whole offense. And people think, well, Evan Simon, 21 touchdowns, no interceptions, they must be throwing the ball all over the field, but really you don't. And most of he's only thrown 13 balls over 20 yards. And when he does it, though, he's very efficient. I should say he's completed 13 balls over 20 yards and 7 touchdowns out of those 13 completions. So, I just feel like the running game allows him to be more selective on when he takes his deep shots. And I feel like without the running game, your whole offense would be in big trouble. And I guess Jay's a huge part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this offense lives and dies by the play action. You mentioned the running game sets up a lot of other stuff, and a lot of that stuff that we were mentioning with Tyler Walker earlier, where he's trying to get misdirection going. He likes to get guys with their eyes going different places than where the ball's going. And he just has so much out of his base play that he likes to use. And I know the ECU 247 site did a phenomenal piece breaking down that kind of base play in an article earlier today, looking at how that motion works in Tyler Walker's system and really what is going where. But there's just so much out of it that really has found to be problematic for opposing defenses. And, you mentioned Jay Ducker. He's just a guy who has been consistent and has been a workhorse for this Temple team since he came over from Sam Houston. And, he admitted when he first came to Temple from Sam Houston with Coach Keeler, he just wanted to play for Keeler because he's a winner. And he said, he wanted to be a winner and he wanted to go out and end his college career as a winner. So that's definitely something that played a factor in his decision to come to Temple. Earlier this year, he became the first player in college football history to have 100 yards at 4 different schools. So he's also a 100-yard game at 4 different schools. So, he's had success basically everywhere he's been, be it at Northern Illinois at the MAC level. He was at Memphis for a couple of years and then at Sam Houston last year and now at Temple. He's really showing his true value as a running back and a weapon in the offense. And it was nice last week to see him finally get involved in the passing game a little bit. He caught a pair of touchdowns from Evan Simon, and that's really helped as well. But, not just to mention the running game, I think the big thing that has really drastically improved this Temple offense has just been the offensive line play this year. The last couple of years, Temple really struggled to put out a healthy offensive line on a week-to-week basis. And, there was at one point, I think there was 22 games. They had 20 different offensive line combinations in 22 games a couple years back. Last year, we started to see them get a little healthier, but, they were just struggling to get that push and be explosive off the snap. But this year, Coach Keeler has mentioned that he thinks that the offensive line has been the most improved position group he's ever had in his 30-plus years of coaching. And I think when you think of all the success and the teams he's had, be it at Delaware, at Rowan University, at Sam Houston, that says a lot in such a short amount of time to get that type of compliment and say like that they have developed and improved that much in 10 months says a lot. And we've really seen that so far. And that's helped not only Ducker and the other running backs find some ground, but that's also allowed Simon to be as successful as he has been because he's just having that time to go through his progressions and make the throw and not put the ball.
Yeah. Hey, Dave, you mentioned earlier about that when he's under pressure, Simon, that is, things don't go so well for the Temple offense. And I was just doing some research, and Evan Simon, when he's under pressure, he's only thrown for 187 yards. Now in a clean pocket, he's thrown for 1423 and 19 touchdowns. Under pressure, he's only been able to throw for 187 and 2 touchdowns. So, keeping him clean back there is absolutely, a top priority.
No doubt about it. I tell you what, Simon is one of my keys to the game. And Drucker, you were talking about, is one heck of a player. That both those guys can play for the Pirates any day. But another thing I was looking at, by the way,
I wanted to touch more on the offensive line here, if you don't mind, that he was just talking about. So, and their run game against our defensive line and our run defense. As good as the quarterback is, it really keys off the run game. It's a play action based offense. Our run defense, East Carolina's run defense, has been at times spectacular. Looked a little bit more, human, I guess, for lack of a better term, the last couple of weeks, and still solid as the pass defense has maybe showed a little bit more weakness. On film, knowing the key to your offense is the run game, to get the play action off that for the pass game to work, and knowing how good the Pirates' run defense has been at time this year. To me, that's the key matchup of the game. I don't know if you agree with that, disagree with that, but where do you see the advantage there? Do you look at you guys' O-line, or do you think the Pirates have an advantage with our run defense, or do you maybe think it's somewhere in the middle?
Yeah, I think on paper you would have to say that right now it's kind of a toss-up, but there have been obviously moments where Temple's line still has shown that it hasn't fully developed to where it needs to be of an even higher efficiency offense and a higher quality of what it is. I'll point to a specific example last week against Tulsa, right? Temple, their running back, Hunter Smith, backup running back, busts off a 72-yard run, gets chased down at the 1-yard line. Temple has 5 plays from the 1-yard line and can't get it in. And then Tulsa turns around and goes 99 yards to score a touchdown to take a halftime lead against the Owls. So, that's something that Coach Keeler obviously said that, they have to find a way to get the ball in the end zone there. And they handed off 5 straight plays and they just could not get it in the end zone from 1 yard out against the Tulsa defensive line that's probably not as good or as stout as the ECU defensive line against the run. So, that definitely makes you question, well, what is Temple going to be able to do in the crunch time? Can they get that extra yard when they actually need it? And, but later in the game, Temple had the chance on the final drive of the game with the ball. Coach Keeler decides to go for it on 4th and 1 from his own 40. Temple gets that extra yard. So, it's a matter of, sometimes a play-by-play scenario. Who's going to end up winning that matchup? Who wants it more in that scenario? And that's going to be a very, very key matchup to the game. I agree with you, Kyle.
Yeah, I've been sitting here over the last few days on and off trying to think, what was the key to this game, and to me, that's it. I mean, who knows? Watch that won't make a difference at all, but at least on paper, it really seems like whoever can get their advantage there, do what they want to do. Can East Carolina stop the run, or can Temple get the run established? Is really going to be the key to this one. Dave, where you had I cut you off earlier. Go ahead with what you were going to say.
Well, it's fine. My next point I was going to make, I double checked, and I'm going to beat Kyle to the punch here because he's our staff meteorologist for TSO for the Sports Objective. 59 degrees, partly cloudy, looks like only about a 20% chance of rain. So those people that are debating on whether I should go or don't go, if you're on the fence, go ahead and go. 59 degrees. That's beautiful for this time of year, right, Ryan?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it looks like it's shaping up to be a nice fall afternoon at the link. It's not going to be like that 2014 matchup where it's subacute temperatures and it's raining and it's just windy and miserable, and Temple ends up coming out with a win in that game against the ranked Pirate team. And I know you guys probably still don't like to talk about that one because that was really the end of the Ruffin McNeil era.
That felt
there.
intentional, Ryan. That felt intentional.
Then it
that was like right. We were only 16th in the country, Ryan. But don't remind us.
Just snowballed after that, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, so it looks like it's going to be a pretty nice afternoon for football, and shouldn't have any weather really there that's going to play a factor.
I have another.
We're talking about. Sorry, go ahead, Johnny.
I have another key to the game, possibly, Ryan. I was interested in what your thoughts were on this. Tempo. Tempo likes to go slow.
Mm-hmm.
ECU likes to go a little bit faster. And when ECU has more than 60 snaps a game, they're 4-1. And when Temple has less than 70 snaps a game, they're 4-1. So, how do you feel like Temple is going to approach this game tempo-wise?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to shy away from what they've been trying to do. I think they're going to really just try to establish that run early and, maybe get those big plays late in the games. That actually kind of impresses me even more that, they're still scoring 34 a game, but yet they're playing less than 70 snaps a game on the offensive side of the ball. So that's quite impressive, I think, in terms of what you're looking at with volume wise of scoring and how efficient they've been so far on offense. But, Temple's played a couple tempo teams before. Tulsa tried to go tempo a couple times on them with mixed results. Charlotte did a little bit against them, and obviously Temple played Georgia Tech and Oklahoma earlier this year, and both of which they also did some tempo. So it's not like Temple hasn't seen it so far this year. It's just whether can they weather that storm early and maybe throw off the offensive rhythm of their opponent and then run its game into the ground, because that was one of the big things against Georgia Tech was Georgia Tech just got out to 21-0 lead early in the first quarter, and then Temple just bounced back and played them pretty much even through the final three quarters. It was just that they couldn't get their defense in the right places when they needed to early on in that game. Otherwise, Temple probably plays Georgia Tech a lot closer than what that final score indicated.
Yeah, you mentioned tempo, and something I was thinking. I was watching the Temple-Tulsa game. Temple-Tulsa tempo. I was watching the Temple-Tulsa game the other day, and I noticed the announcer. I didn't notice it during the game myself, but the announcer pointed it out that you guys played over 30 players on defense. You guys sub a lot on defense. With the Pirates going tempo, we like to sub a lot too, but theoretically, if you go tempo, you can keep the defense from subbing if you don't sub. And I have wondered if that will be our game plan this week, is to, as sub as little as possible to keep you guys from subbing. How do you think that would affect you guys if we were able to pull that off? I mean, I know. I guess my point is, or the question I'm trying to ask is, How important is it that you guys sub, and how important is that depth on defense? Or do you guys have guys that you can feel can stay in there? If I can talk, feel like can stay in there and play more than normal if need to.
Yeah, I think so far what we've seen is like Temple's trying to do that just to get some guys some reps and make sure that their guys have fresh legs, especially during this stretch. I know somebody asked earlier about whether Temple's really feeling tired legs right now. I don't think the defensive side of the ball really is feeling that. Injury wise, yeah, they're a little banged up, but the tiredness aspect, I don't think is really going to play a factor just because they do sub so much. A lot of the guys on the Temple defense, aside from linebacker Curly Ordonez, they, are only playing 30, 35 snaps a game, some even less. But really, Curly Ordonez is the only guy who's seeing most of the action on that defense, and he's played phenomenal as a guy who came from the JUCO ranks for Temple. He leads the team with tackles and has really just been that playmaker in the middle of the Temple defense. So I don't think that that's necessarily going to play a factor as far as the tiredness aspect. But, if you prevent guys from subbing and you get guys that are a little bit banged up on the field, maybe you have that mismatch somewhere along the lines, or you catch Temple's defense sleeping a little bit. If they're just not prepared for something, or they haven't worked with that group of that unit that's on the field and just that cohesion with the defense as often as maybe some of the other guys have, and trusting those guys around you to do their job. I could definitely see that being a problem, but again, like I said, it's not like Temple hasn't had to deal with it before this season. They've had teams go tempo on them. Oklahoma did it quite often in that game. But it's going to end up being, who ends up making that one more play, I think, on defense.
Something you guys might not. I was going to say one more thing, Dave, and then I'll shut up and give you the floor. Something that as you might not have thought about, or Temple fans might not have thought about, because it's directly related to East Carolina. We have not played a day game. Every game we played has been at night. That's something that bothers me from obviously practice during the day. So the sun, I'm not talking about the sun being out because you practice during the day. I'm talking about from a preparation standpoint, or a routine standpoint, I guess is what I should say. We have not had to be ready to play in the afternoon all year. And now we're doing it on the road. You're going to get to the stadium probably 11, 12 o'clock, which means you're going to get up at 8 o'clock. And, guys are used to getting to the stadium for our home and away games this year at, 5 o'clock. And, who knows what time they get up. But this is the first time we've done that all year. Is that something you've thought about, Ryan, or had you even realize that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think with being on a couple of the other guys' podcast radio shows, they mentioned the same thing, that the routine of ECU's schedule right now is being thrown off, not only because you're coming off the 16 days off, but you're also having a game that you've not played in the afternoon for. And, sun obviously can play a factor in the game with just how you're seeing the ball, the shadows at a NFL stadium with the sun and how it sets at the link. Shadows definitely come into play there. So that's obviously something that you have to take into account with the bleachers and the higher up sections of the stadium. So that obviously is a thing that could play a factor. And I was going to say, you're not like the zombie pirates from Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, though, right? But yeah, I think that just that routine and all, obviously, I think ECU players are probably going to be wanting and itching to get out on the field because it has been so long since they last played. But, like you said, the routine, whether they're actually locked in for that early of a game for the first time all season, and how that routine is going to look once they do get to the link. And, there's always the chance that there's, travel problems or anything in Philly. Temple experienced it last week. They're at their team hotel at Tulsa, and their power went out at like 2 or 3 in the morning and didn't come back on until 7 in the morning. And they had to be up for their morning walkthrough. And, they just didn't have power for a couple hours at their team hotel. So definitely, that always throws a wrench into the equation, and that routine just could get shifted up a little bit, and that could cause, some problems come game day.
No doubt. I wanted to ask you, Ryan, we had a question from Justin. He had a really tough question for you. Where do you get the best cheesesteak?
Yeah, best cheesesteak. I love Jim's down on South Street. That's one of my favorite places. Just reopened like within the last year after it was unfortunately caught on. Well, it didn't catch on fire, but the apartment next to it caught on fire, which caused it to have to be closed for a while. But Jim's has been now back open. I love a good Jim's cheesesteak, and I was saying to you, Dave, before the show, D'Alessandro's is a place that comes very highly recommended. I'd never heard a bad thing about D'Alessandro's steaks. I'm looking forward to hopefully getting one myself sometime very soon.
And
Do
also,
you
I had
ever
a
get
question.
tired of being? Do you ever get tired of being asked about cheesesteaks?
I mean, it seems like it ends up being a thing every time, some teams new or coming up to or to the city for the first time, but usually it's not too bad. I like talking up some places.
Another food question is my buddy wants to know, where can we get a good steak? A good steakhouse that we don't have Kyle Barber money, but
Yeah, I think you just mentioned that as Alejandro's or whatever you said, or
Well, so that's a good cheesesteak place. But if you're looking for like
okay.
a steakhouse, Del Frisco's in Center City, it's a little higher end one, and then Maggiano's Maggiano's down in Center City is a little lower end, but has excellent reviews. I can't speak
Okay.
either. I know I'm not Italian.
But
Hey,
okay, we're just going to keep on with Philly things. Where do you get the best water ice or Italian ice?
I
I think
don't
in Philly
believe
you'll
it.
call it water ice.
No,
I
I
think
don't
it's
believe
Philly they call it.
they do call it water. I don't believe in water ice. I'm more of a shave ice guy, but it's got to be like traditional Hawaiian shave ice. My girlfriend.
Oh, you don't like Italian? Where did you grow up?
I grew up here in like South Central PA, near
And you
Gettysburg.
don't like it? You prefer Hawaiian ice to Italian
Oh
ice,
yeah,
or
absolutely.
really? You would
Yeah.
fit in down here. We have Hawaiian ice stands everywhere, and I love Italian ice, so we can trade. So all right. So you said your girl likes Italian ice, right?
Well,
So
she lived in Hawaii for a little bit, so she likes that real good Hawaiian ice. Uh, yeah,
I thought you were saying she liked the other thing. I
no,
think okay. So all right. Well, all right, the folks you know that like water ice or Italian ice, where would you recommend?
I don't know of really any places in Philly that have good ones of that. There's some things in Philly like their food is very niche, right? It's the pretzels, it's the cheesesteaks, it's the there's not I've never really found a good pizza place in Philly. Um, can't really find a good burger, good Chinese food really anywhere. I'm sure there is some down in Chinatown, but it's very niche and it's very, one type of food in Philly.
So there's not good. Well, yeah, but I thought water ice, Italian ice was a Philly thing,
I
wasn't
would
it?
say there was something probably in Reading Terminal Market. I'm sure there's a place in there that probably sells it. I would say if you want some good like fresh Philly food and you get that full experience, Reading Terminal Market's a place to check out. I know Denix is a good place as far as getting like deli sandwiches or pulled or hot or roast pork sandwiches. They're a good place. They have tons of like Italian bakeries and pastry places in there, fresh fruits and vegetables. So
Isn't there
definitely,
a sandwich in Philly? Maybe it's a roast pork sandwich. They put like is it a broccoli rabe they put on it, or
yeah,
am I
that's
making
it.
that? Yeah.
Yep, that's it. Denix. They have with a sharp cheese on it and a broccoli rabe on it. It's delicious. I also
Yes, I've seen
Mm,
that.
the
that
Italian
sounds
sausage
good.
there is good there too.
You said
Uh,
Italian sausage?
Yeah.
you don't get
Oh
excited,
man.
Dave.
Ryan, as far as tourist attractions, I know obviously everybody wants to do the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Obviously, Kyle, I know, and I are big in Johnny.
Do we lose Dave?
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Yeah, we got you now, Dave. Go ahead.
Okay, I don't know if you can hear me. I was saying about the different tourist attractions and the Metropolitan Museum of Art, of course, with the Rocky, and made that famous. Of course, you think about all the history thing. I was saying about the history stuff that Johnny, Kyle, and myself would love, Ryan. And one thing from Pirate Radio, Shirley told me last week is there a jail there that Al Capone stayed at that's haunted?
Yeah,
That sounded
Eastern
really
State
cool.
Penitentiary. Yep. And they do a big thing during Halloween time that you can go through, and it's basically like a scare house type deal at Eastern State. But yeah, no, I've never been there. I've drove past it a couple times, but it's supposedly haunted, and they turn it into a big Halloween attraction around this time of the year. So that might be something good to check out if you're in town for Pirate fans.
Boy,
Yeah,
that's
I'm a
sold
huge fan
out.
of Shirley, and she's like, Dave, she's already been there twice. She said, I've got to go back. She was telling me she was pumped up about that place, and so it just had me intrigued. It's like, is it a cool place or not?
Ryan, I'm sure I've asked you this every time you've been on because I know you're a wrestling guy like I am. Have you? I know it's in the absolute like one of the worst parts of town that's in the hood. Have you ever been over to the ECW arena?
I've been inside it very briefly, yes.
Okay, so you've never gone to an indie show there. Or,
I've never been.
AEW Dynamite did a few shows there this year.
Yep. Yeah, because typically they go to the Leah Center, which is Temple's arena. But
Yeah, but
I
they
saw
quit selling tickets.
Yep, they were. They took up residency there for a couple weeks there, or over the summer.
So you've only been in there for a moment. You've never seen a show there.
No, I would love to. The only place I've seen a small show in Philly was at the Tower Theater. It was an NXT like house show.
Yeah.
Back when Finn Balor was in NXT with Samoa Joe, Austin Aries, like that, the black and gold version of NXT when it really was first
good
starting to take
NXT.
off. So that was awesome because, that was just, a real small little hole in the wall place that you got to watch wrestling up close.
Yeah, growing up, in the 80s and 90s, about the time I was 16, 17, 96, 97, 98, I was 18, I became a huge ECW fan. And not a lot of ECW fans in Eastern North Carolina in the mid to late 90s. And, so I would watch it on, I had a satellite, and I would watch it on MSG Sports, the Empire Sports Network out of Buffalo. I don't know if it still exists, and Sunshine Sports Network out of South Florida. So those three regional sports networks aired ECW, and they would air it in the wee morning hours, like 1, 2, 3 in the morning. I would watch it on one of those, and so I wanted to go to Philadelphia to the ECW arena so bad in those days. And if anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about, it's Extreme Championship Wrestling. Google it, kids. And
the hardcore stuff.
yeah, and it was more than just hardcore.
Yeah.
You had great scientific wrestlers like Jerry Lynn. Rob Van Dam. Mixed hardcore with his martial arts style and scientific wrestling, and ECW was a whole vibe. And it was as I've grown older, I've really gotten sick of hardcore. I even hate to see table spots now. They do it way too much in WWE, and AEW is just a stunt show. So I saw it all back then when seeing that was new, when putting people through tables was new, when barbed wire matches weren't a new thing, but the violence and the blood and the hot spots, I've seen enough of it. I want old school storytelling again.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm getting on a tangent. JR, did you want to chime in on wrestling?
No, I'm good. Thanks, Kyle.
I was going to
The
tell
new
you,
Bubba.
Kyle, I did get to meet John Cena and The Undertaker over the summer. John Cena was legitimately, if you ever got a chance to meet him, he is one of the nicest human beings there is.
Nice. How was Taker?
Taker was good. I wish I would have gotten to interact with him a little bit more, but just seeing the size of that man, and like when I shook his hand, it was like, oh my God, you don't realize, like, you actually hear people say like their hands are like catcher's mitts. That's actually how big his hands is.
Good God.
Yeah, he's got big hands. I've met a lot of guys over the years. Some guys more memorable than others, and then it's always good not to be disappointed by people when you meet them. And some wrestlers will disappoint you, and some will surprise you. One of the and I don't know if I just caught him on a bad day or what, but one of the biggest assholes that you would expect to be a nice guy in wrestling that I met was Rikishi. He was an ass. And I'm no pun intended, if you remember his gimmick. But so and then I met people that had reputations for not being very cool that were really cool, like Goldust, Dustin Rhodes. Really cool guy. Guys are hit or miss. You never know what to expect. But meeting Taker and Cena, that's big time. Where'd you meet him at?
Yeah, I went to the Fanatics Fest at New York City. So yeah, John was very nice because my girlfriend actually had made him a friendship bracelet because of what he does with Make-A-Wish, and she told him like, thank you for what you do. And he was just like, thank you for your kindness. And he's like, that was very sweet of you. And he talked to us for about 30 seconds that we got, and it was very nice and just a very wholesome. Like you hear that he's a very good person, but it was nice to actually see that is how he is as a person.
Horrible, horrible, horrible. Just how the WWE has managed to blow the farewell tour for John Cena just blows my mind. You do this
I thought it was a great
dumbass heel
idea.
turn. You did this dumbass heel turn with The Rock that goes absolutely nowhere. That
Yeah.
just stunk up the joint. And then you turn him back babyface. Just there's nothing
For no
behind it.
reason.
Well, now I'm a babyface again. It just
Yeah.
happens. The way you had something that was just so easy to do, and the way that they have mishandled it and screwed it up, and like right now, the speculation is final opponent's going to be Gunther, and
Yeah.
nothing wrong with Gunther. And the old saying in wrestling is when you go out, you're supposed to go out staring up at the lights. So you need to put somebody over. But the problem with that is Ryan. He's lost all these other big matches. He lost to Brock Lesnar. He got absolutely destroyed by him.
Yep.
He lost the world title back to Cody. So we've seen him lose enough. So you don't want to see him lose the final match now. But, Gunther really can't take another high profile loss. So,
Yeah.
I heard.
yeah. So I don't know if it's going to be Gunther for sure. Who would you like to see it be, Ron?
I mean, I would like, obviously, to just see it finished with The Rock. I mean, I know it's not going to happen.
No.
Just to have The Rock take him out and then get some more heat on him with his gimmick, because I mean his thing has gone nowhere either, and he's kind of taken that back seat where it's just he's Hollywood and he's pulling the strings behind
What would be good and what you could see, but they're not going to do it because they've already been starting to do it, is if The Rock had somebody. If he had somebody representing him, be it Roman Reigns or another member of the bloodline. It would be great if what's his name hadn't got hurt. Fatu, Jacob Fatu. If you had somebody like that that could represent The Rock, that The Rock could bring out and attack John, and then set that up as the final match. John gets the win, and then he just hits The Rock with the AA to get his revenge, and that's how we close it out. That's to me would be the nice happy ending everyone would like to see, and they could do that. I just don't think they're going to.
Yeah, and obviously, if contract would allow, I would love Edge, but that's
not going to happen. No, Tony Khan would be an idiot to do that.
Honestly, it should have been Orton. I don't know why they ran the Orton angle when they did.
Exactly, I agree with you.
Oh Orton. Man, yeah, Orton. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, my guys, my vote, my sentimental vote. I'm going for Matty Ice. Matt Semenza is joining us. He's via Facebook or YouTube. I think Matty Ice and John Cena. What do you think?
He's talking about Matt Semenza, our broadcast colleague.
Yeah.
That played. Well, I think Ryan had a clue what you were talking about. So,
okay. I thought he remembered Matt. Okay.
Yeah,
he probably would. It's Matt Semenza. Matty Ice. I think you're talking about some indie dude that wrestles in Williamston.
Or Matt Ryan.
In Connecticut.
Yeah. I know, but anyway, yeah, no, Randy Orton of the guys that are on the roster would have made a lot of sense, but they did that, months ago now. So they've done everything already. They've done Punk. They've done everything. So it'll probably will end up being something very anticlimactic like Gunther.
Or Breaker at this point. I could see it almost being at this point too.
Yeah, well, if he wants to, now that would make sense from putting somebody over standpoint as being the next guy. I don't know why they had Brock destroy him like they did if they weren't going to bring that back.
Yeah.
But clearly they're not. So anyway, that's enough about wrestling. People probably are tuning out now by the tens. JR, do you have any other football talk before we make our predictions?
No, but excuse me, Ryan, for a minute. You wouldn't appreciate this, but so Trey Savage has taken his legend to another level. We're through 4 innings in LA, and he has a 3-1 lead with 8 strikeouts. That dude is unbelievable.
Former East Carolina pitcher Trey Savage starting for the Toronto Blue Jays in the World Series.
Yeah, suddenly, Ryan, there's a lot of Toronto Blue Jays.
I mean, that's not a little thing. I mean, we need to acknowledge that.
No, it's a huge deal.
Yeah.
It's a huge deal.
Yeah.
The way he's pitching,
what he's doing is much more important than wrestling, Kyle.
Well,
It's a joke. It's a joke.
Trey
Anyhow,
is
okay, that's it for my baseball commentary tonight. But I had to throw it in there.
Hey, Trey Savage is a great Pirate, and he's pitching in the World Series and doing a hell of a job. And has every time he stepped on the mound in the postseason. And I hope the Blue Jays win it. There's 2 Pirates playing for him on that pitching staff, and I'm cheering for the Blue Jays. I'm a Cubs fan normally, but obviously cheering for the Blue Jays right now in the World Series. But
yeah,
so,
but
guys,
this was a big deal because it was his first road game in the playoffs. All of his other games have been at home, and people were saying, "Well, let's see him do it on the road." Well, there you go.
Yeah.
He's getting it done, and I'm gonna turn that on as soon as we get done. Guys, let's make our picks and get out of here. Unless anybody has anything else they want to say, we need to promote Ryan. We never gave him a formal introduction. That's Ryan Wallen with Owls Daily. Ryan, promote your stuff.
Yeah, sure. So you can follow us leading up to the Temple ECU game this weekend. You can follow me on X at Ryan Wallen 247. I'll have your pregame report from the press box, as well as any injury or other news coming out of the Temple camp heading into the game. You can follow the Owls Daily X account as well at Owls Daily 247. You can find our work at temple.247sports.com or owlsdaily.com. And as always, I'm going to throw my editor, Sean Pastor, bone just because he's the most dedicated beat writer out there. I think that still actually gets to travel to every home and away Temple football and basketball game at Temple Owls Daily on X as well.
Nice. All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Ryan, very much. We appreciate you, buddy.
All right, we're going to let Ryan stay on for the picks here.
Yeah. Are we doing our picks before he leaves or after he leaves?
Now, we're going to do our picks with Ryan. We're going to get Ryan's picks.
Yeah, good. I'll throw mine out there right now.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so in the Pirates' 4 victories, they average 44.5 points a game. In their 6 losses, they average 11.1 points a game. If they score more than 17 points, they win, as history would suggest. Although, I don't know how much you can rely on games that happened 10 years ago, but still, it's fun. And I'm going with Pirates sticking with that 44 number and taking down the Owls 44-31.
Wow.
All right, Kyle, you go.
Yeah, I've been back and forth on this one all day. I part of me wants to be a little bullish, like not quite that bullish, but a little bullish, like JR. So one score I had was 34-24. But I really don't have anything to base that on other than just the feeling. But, I'm going to be logical looking at this like I always am when I make my picks. And I think it's going to be really close. I think it comes down to the end. I'm going to say East Carolina 34, Temple 31.
Oh, man, that's really close to what I had.
I was sitting around that number too.
I'm going 35-31 Pirates. And Ryan, do you have a score?
Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit on the lower end. I think it's going to be a little bit more of a defensive game. Something's just telling me that everybody's thinking it's going to be an offensive shootout, and it's going to be a little bit strategical. And it's going to just come down to, which defense makes that one play. And I'm going to go 31-28 Temple.
All right.
All right, I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a close game either way. I really do. I felt that way all along. And Ryan, you have. I think this is like 6 years you've been with us. You've been with us a long time. So,
yeah.
Looking forward to finally meeting you in person on Saturday. And I'm going to charge my bill to Kyle. So don't worry, I'll take you out to the nicest steakhouse, and we'll have a great time.
All right, sounds good, Dave.
All right,
Ryan, put him through a table.
We're going to go to the UCW arena, and he'll throw me through a table. Okay. All right. Thanks, man. Hope you have we'll see you Saturday.
Yep, absolutely. We'll see you then.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. I know we're talking football, but I wanted to say I had a chance to go to missed you guys a lot last night. Went to the Johnny. I'm telling you, brother. I know Kyle's going to say, Dave, I'm not really into basketball. But the men's basketball tip-off dinner was outstanding last night. They had a different format. What they did, I call it basketball speed dating. So what they did is they had a coach talk handful of minutes, and they had every coach. They had all the players, coaches, guy doing analytics. Like they set at every single, it's like 30 tables, I think, and they set at every single table for 3 minutes. They had like a shot, like a timer, and it gave you a chance to learn more about the players, the coaches, the people behind the scenes there with you at the table. So that was including Coach Schwartz. So that was really cool. I really like that. They've never done that before. So I want to give them a shout out to Ryan Robinson and John Gilbert, everybody in the Pirate Club. That was their idea. So we always, whenever they do something good, we like to throw them a bone. And that one was really good last night.
Dave, that is whoever's idea that was, whether it was Ryan's or John's or whoever. That's outstanding. I love that. I would have found a way to go if I knew that was going to happen.
I didn't know. I would have told you. That was a surprise.
Mador must have came up with it.
Maybe so. It was a good time. In fact, that was the fastest tip-off dinner, and it's because you know how you get like, it's not anything against them. I enjoyed them, but that was a new wrinkle. And they also, here's another cool thing, guys. They always usually have the speaker set up as far as the podium at the end, closest to the door, like you're going out. Last night they had the podium right in front of like your view of Dowdy Ficklen Stadium. That was awesome. I have to give them credit on that. Never thought about that before because everything has been set up the opposite way that we're always used to. So really like that. In fact, people were really, it was really funny because the people that are the big donors, they thought that they were in the back of the room and the people that had like table 30 were in the front, and they found out, oh, okay, it's still good. We're in a different direction. So it was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to it. The season starts Monday for the ladies, Tuesday for the guys. I'm still trying to work on getting those videos out, but I have a number of videos for men's and women's, so I'm gonna work on that. It's been a lot going on at work, so I'll figure that out between now and the weekend to get those out. But a lot of fun, and that was what I had, and also was going to talk about Trey. So Johnny, you got that, and
I was just
my
going to
mom
say, did I see that you were sitting next to Pirate Al at the banquet?
I was. Let me tell you something. One of the biggest wrestling fans ever got married by Ivan Koloff. WWE Hall of Famer. He and his wife Darlene. I love the Ponds. The Ponds were there,
Was
obviously.
actually briefly married to Ivan Koloff. So I don't know if that.
Oh wow. Okay. Norm was there, but Norm Bryant, just a great time. There's so many great Pirates there. So I got a chance to talk to Hank Kenton and ask him, does he have a life again after Team Boneyard? He said yes. And he said he didn't realize how much time they were spending. But I thanked him. The reason I brought that up is I thanked him for all the dedication those guys did for NIL. And I said, I appreciate you so much because I know it's a thankless job. But I'm telling you guys, the one thing I will tell you is
Dave, you're
the
going to run
reason.
out of breath.
Sorry. The one thing I'll tell you, I'm just excited. The one thing I'm real excited, Johnny, and you and I talk about this a lot over the last couple of years. We've got shooters this year. So we got Delorier, the guy from Providence. We got Corey. I was trying to think, Eli Delorier. Yeah, the point guard is like a really big name. And by the way, Michael Perry, here's something for you, Kyle. Did you know that we signed, I don't know his name, and Johnny, you may know it. And I think it's because he can't say his name yet because obviously we haven't had the signing day. But did you know, Kyle, we signed a 4-star basketball recruit. A 4-star basketball recruit is coming to ECU.
Yeah, for the class.
Yeah, I saw that on 24/7. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's. I mean, hey, I'm excited about it. I know that I'm putting my heart out there, and we know what's happened in the years past. We'll leave the past, and I'm really excited about Kyle. The basketball schedule is one thing that we always on our show. They were like, "Oh my God, are we really?" But the schedule this year, hey, you know that old adage, Johnny, be careful what you wish for. I've been wanting tougher non-conference schedule, and man, we've boy do we have it this year, don't we?
Well, we got to get some of those games in Greenville.
Yeah, hey Kyle, we got the big one against Elizabeth City State.
Yeah, yeah.
I do wish
man.
we could do away with the D2 games because those,
Yes.
a lot of those stats don't even count.
Exactly.
It's not even a recognizable win. I mean, I think it's great for Elizabeth City State, though. I mean, they get to come to Greenville. That's awesome. I love that. But I don't even want to buy
pointless.
It is. Because we're, and I talked about it last night, our goal is to win conference championships, and our goal is to go to the Big D. I talked about it last night a lot on purpose.
No, it's not. It's to go to the NIT.
No, it's not. I'm not going to say anything on that one, but no, it's not. It's I know you're being sarcastic, but and tongue in cheek, but I'm really excited about that. I tell you what, if you don't think our baseball season is going to be great after Trey Savage, hey, how would you like to tell a recruit that you can be that guy on the big stage in the World Series? The guy was at single A ball, guys, at the beginning of the year, and now he's getting ready to win another. Well, it was a no decision game one, but potentially his first win of the World Series, right, Johnny?
Yeah, in the World Series. Yeah, it's the second start.
Right.
One no decision, and then he hasn't had the win yet, though. I mean, it's still.
I know.
And they're the Dodgers, so you can never count them out.
No, and hey, Kyle, did you know the payroll for the Dodgers? How much it is?
Not a clue.
Like what is it, Johnny? Like over 350 million.
Dave, I quit counting. I don't. That's one of the reasons I root against them. I don't like the concept of buying a team. Although Toronto's payroll is pretty high too.
200 and theirs is 246 million.
Yeah.
So there's a reason why those two teams are in the World Series. But
yeah, you're right.
What kind of? I want to ask you guys. This is something that I have no idea, but I was curious to see if you guys did. What kind of payday, if let's say hypothetically, I don't want to jinx it, but let's say that the Blue Jays do win it, the whole thing. What kind of payday do you think a guy like Trey Savage would have? I mean, do you have a number?
I have no idea. I don't know what his contract looks like, what kind of negotiable, what his current contract looks like, when it can be renegotiated, et cetera.
Yeah.
All that depends on that.
Yeah, I need to look that up. I've been curious about that the last few days this week, wondering how.
Or do you mean like a bonus for being on a college World Series or a college World Series, on a World Series team? Or
no, I was just thinking, I was wondering that very thing, like, is it, I don't think they don't have a rookie contract like the NFL. So I was just wondering, I mean, baseball salaries are just nuts. So I'm probably.
I have no idea. It doesn't matter. At some point, they get paid so much money, it doesn't even matter. That's probably why not. Trey's not even playing for that reason. But let me give you an update. We're through 5 now. It's still 3-1. Trey's still in the game, and now he has 10 strikeouts. I mean, this is like upper level stuff that he's doing. And this is not a wrap on Igo, because you both know that I think very highly of him, and I depend on him to get a lot of information. But he was suggesting today that Trey was out of gas, and how could he possibly have anything left in the tank? Now he's got to go on the road, and he was worried for him. And, I was too. So I'm not saying Igo was wrong for his concerns. I was concerned as well, but it just shows you that what he's doing is crazy. And you talk about boosting the Pirate name. Just wait till Jeff Hoffman comes in and closes out the series winning. Just wait till that happens, because it's gonna. I have a feeling. So we're in a good place right now.
Here's the thing, guys. You win tonight. You're up 3-2, and you're going back to Toronto, and you have 2 chances to win 1 game. I like my odds there. I really do. And I'm not knocking the Dodgers. My God, they have a all-star team. I mean, when you think about their lineup, Johnny, 1-9, there's no break.
Guys, I'm gonna get off of here. Wait a minute, guys. I gotta get off here, guys. Trade on Trey Savage and Toronto Blue Jays here in the World Series. Good luck to the Pirates this Saturday. Hope we bring home again, win against Temple. and I will check back with you guys and the rest of Pirate Nation here on the Pirate Playback on Sunday night. And Dave and JR, I'm turning it over to you guys. Good night and go Pirates.
All right, man.
Hi, Kyle.
All right. I want to win the Corvette, Johnny, so you're not going to beat me tonight. Whoever's going to last the longest, but I love Johnny. I love people don't know how great
to
you
be
are.
honest with you, there were a couple of times earlier in the show where I admit I was distracted because it was high, leverage situations, and
Yeah.
I just couldn't concentrate on that show, and I apologize for that. But I mean, this stuff doesn't happen very often, and when it does, I'm kind of fully invested. So,
well, you remember 2014 Madison Bumgarner with the Giants?
Oh yeah,
Speaking of
I
a North
love
Carolina
him.
native,
Yep.
I mean that guy
Country
was. I loved him because I remember in the clubhouse he's shotgunning a beer. But the guy throws it was a perfect game, right? A perfect game in the World Series in 2014.
For the Giants, yeah.
Yeah, and that was one of my favorite. But what I'm saying is, it's not at that level, obviously, because that's like one of those magical things you might see once in your lifetime. But
And he
as
was
far as,
he was an established player when he did that.
Yeah.
Trey is just like coming on the scene unannounced and taking command.
It's just a different atmosphere, a different excitement for me is what I'm trying to say. It's that level interest. Not that I'm not, so people will know I'm not comparing that start with Bumgarner. I'm just saying that it's been that kind of excitement. Seeing Trey, seeing a guy that you've interviewed, seeing a guy that you've seen play so many times, and all of a sudden it's kind of like you have to pinch yourself. Wow, that dude, I've talked to that dude, and he's on the mound right now in the World Series.
Yeah. I mean, this is it for him too, because he can't start another game. I doubt if it went to 7, they maybe could use him for an inning as a bullpen, but I don't put anything past him. What he's done so far is so remarkable that I'm not going to put anything past him. But I think this is probably it for him. He needs a rest.
Yeah, I think it's it for the season. But he'll be a great cheerleader, a great coach, and I tell you, it's to me. You talk about command. The other word, the other term to come to mind, mental toughness. I mean, you see Ohtani last night on the mound, and the guy is like nervous as all get out, and you can see him like taking deep breaths, like, and to see probably the Babe Ruth of my kids' generation, and one of the biggest players of all time, and it just reminds you about the game of failure. It reminds you of the human element. It reminds you of the stakes that they're at. I mean, they paid Ohtani a lot of money for a reason, and they want to win championships, and they've won 2 in the last 2020 and 24, right? So they won last year, and they won the COVID shortened season. They hadn't won since I was in high school. I was freshman year,
so we
1988.
Yeah. But the Dodgers are paying Ohtani a lot of money. That's an understatement. But you know what? He's probably underpaid. That guy, he may be the best baseball player ever. He may be.
I mean, that Monday night marathon, man. I fell asleep in the 16th inning. I think it was the top of the 16th when I fell asleep. I was trying so hard to stay awake, and the dude only was like on base 9 times. I think. I mean, the stats he created on Monday night alone. If he stays healthy, he's definitely a Hall of Famer. But anyway, do you have anything before we get out of here, brother?
No. Are you going Tuesday night to the Georgia Southern game?
I'm trying to work it out. Being a single dad, there's I don't want to jinx things, but my son Alex has a big playoff game tomorrow. Tomorrow night. So it's supposed to be tonight.
Right.
But the rain, and then if I would not be missing that game, the game will be next Wednesday night for the championship. But we'll just have to wait and see. I am a game time decision on Tuesday night.
Well, good luck to the Gators.
Yeah, the Gators have a really big one tomorrow night against the Gators. The middle school is playing Chowan County. They're the number 1 seed, Johnny. They have a chance to
Yeah.
win 5 straight championships. Only one loss in 31 games. If 30-1 right now.
Wow.
So if they win on tomorrow night, and then the high school, the varsity Gators have a chance to do something we haven't done. I don't know this for sure, but something around the 2007 mark. We have a chance to win a conference championship tomorrow night. So really proud of middle school and high school how they're doing, but we'll see how it turns out. But thank you for mentioning that and asking. But they're doing very well.
Yeah. So middle school beat Currituck last week, right?
High school beat Currituck,
Oh, that was
and
the
then
high
we lost.
school.
We lost to Northeastern by 1 point. Our place kicker missed extra point. The first he's missed all year. It was a heavyweight fight, and that was the difference in the game. It was a really,
Poor
it's
kid.
one of the. But then early in the fourth, and they came back and scored. But that's the way things go. I was really upset for 24 hours, and then you have to flush it and know that you've got this game now on tomorrow night. So being Thursday night against in a Hosky against Hertford County, the Bears. So we'll see how it turns out, and I'm just looking forward to this Pirates game, and I really
Me
think
too.
this is everyone's a big one, but this is a really big one for Blake Harrell, as you know, Johnny, 9-4. This will be number 10 when he wins on Saturday. And I'm telling you guys, I almost forgot we're getting ready to get out of here. But Johnny, I know you're bullish on the Pirates. Here's the deal. Blake gets his 10th win on Saturday as a coach. And when we come back, we are going to be playing for bowl eligibility. And we also have a chance to beat a team we haven't beat yet in the conference. And that's, believe it or not, Charlotte. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of storylines. You'll have more storylines, I know, getting ready for that game. But we
Yeah.
got to take care of business first with Temple. And I'm looking forward to it. And I appreciate I want to say this, too, on the air. Really love having you on our show. It means a lot. There's a lot of people. I'm getting a lot of compliments. So being our
Well,
stats guy and insider. So thank you for all that
I'm
you do.
trying to get better. I mean, sometimes I I just feel like I'm overly critical. I think I don't even listen to the shows ever. Like I just I don't want to hear that. I know I wasn't as good as I could have been, but I'm working on it, trying to get better. But in regards to Temple, I know I predicted a 13-point win, but I am nervous. I'm not like overconfident by any stretch of the imagination. And if Temple wins, they're 4-1 in the American, and they have a tough schedule, so I don't think they could be a factor. But still, it's a critical game, like you said, Dave. This is a big, big, big game for both teams.
Correct. And it's pretty much evenly matched. So I'm looking forward to it. I know you are. And want to remind everybody, don't forget on Sunday night, we'll have the Pirate football playback. Hopefully we're talking about a win. I think we will be. We'll see how it goes. That's why you play the games. Good luck to Trey the rest of the way. And by the way, Johnny, before we will maybe know who the World Series champion is. So good luck to the Blue Jays the rest of the way. Nothing against the Dodgers for Dodger fans out there. I just really want to see our two Pirates and the Blue Jays haven't won since '93. Those back-to-back years in '92, '93. So it'd be nice to see
Yeah.
them win it.
Hey, Dave, I don't care about the Dodger fans out there. They can be mad if they want to be. I don't care. Because I just the Dodgers and Yankees are the two teams that I just don't like.
So what are you going to do if the
They
Yankees
just
and Dodgers?
they spend too much money, and
what do you do if the Yankees?
I
Dodgers
wouldn't
in the World
watch.
Series?
I wouldn't watch, but I would probably. Well, it depends on who was on the rosters, but I'd probably root for the Dodgers. But it'd be tough.
Yeah,
it'd be tough.
I agree with
and
you.
I wouldn't watch.
Okay, well that's fair, and you don't have to. All right. Well, I hope you have a great night, man, and to everybody watching and listening. Thanks to everybody, Ryan Wallen from Owls Daily 24/7. Thank you to Andrew Bays, the Pirate Radio sports analyst on the road games this year. And we'll see you back Sunday night at 8 o'clock. And we are TSO. And as always, go Pirates.
You're watching The Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates.